In September 70, a record label called Walrus Records released a record titled Alive at Last. This was the first release of a mysterious recording known as the Whiskey Flat, which would later become known as many bootlegs and as a famous Beatles concert recording. The artist name of Alive at Last was not the Beatles but the Liverpudlians. But the content was clearly a record of a certain Beatles concert. Also, based on the songs performed and the performance, we were able to determine that this was from the American tour that took place from August to September 64. However, there was no information regarding specific dates or performance locations, and the details remained unclear. The following month, Debunking, which would later become a famous and well-established bootleg label, also released this sound source. The title was In Concert at Whiskey Flat. It was first released as a Beatles concert recording, and the name of the Whiskey Flat was used for the first time. However, the details of the concert, the date and location of the performance, are still unknown. Recording Unknown was also written on the box of Debunky's master tape at the time. In 72, a bootleg label called Contraband Music released this sound source. The title was Live Concert Atlanta. For the first time, the place name of Atlanta was given, so this recording would be recognized as if it were from a concert in Atlanta. However, it was soon cleared that Atlanta was not included in the Beatles' 64 American tour dates, and this was denied. Afterwards, a theory arose that this recording was made in Philadelphia on September 2, 64, and that the Ori was believed for a long time. However, this has now been clearly denied by comparison with the video footage taken that day. In other words, even now, more than 50 years after the sound source was released, the performance location of this Whiskey Flat sound source still remains a mystery. The mystery of the Whiskey Flat. First of all, what is the origin of Whiskey Flat? In fact, there is a place in California called Whiskey Flat. The owner of Debunking used the nickname of the town where his grandmother lived as a joke to name an unknown concert venue. The person himself recalls that it was probably the same reason for Atlanta. In other words, there is no basis for either Whiskey Flat or Atlanta.
Here they are, the Beatles!
The Beatles' 64 American tour lasted about a month, starting in San Francisco on August 19th and ending in New York on September 20th. A total of 32 concerts were held. The Whiskey Flat sound source should be one of these 32 performances. Now, let's take a closer look at the Whiskey Flat sound source itself. What can we learn from the sound source? Nothing is happening. What you can see in the Whiskey Flat audio source is the whole story of a very average concert. There have been almost no incidents or troubles of any kind. There were no equipment problems, instrument problems, audience intrusions, or interruptions to the concert, and the concert continued without a hitch until the end. The Beatles are having fun playing.
The next. Thanks, John.
Throughout, you get the impression that the Beatles are having fun playing. There are several other performances from this tour that have been recorded, but I think Whiskey Flat is the sound source where the Beatles are having the most fun playing among them. In the Montreal performance in the latter half of the tour, the Beatles seem to be a little tired from the tour, so it is assumed that Whiskey Flat was recorded relatively early in the tour. It is also a time when they are not cutting corners, so it cannot be confirmed that it is the beginning of the tour for that reason alone, but in any case, I get the impression that the Beatles are having fun playing in this sound source. Probably a night performance. the Beatles' greeting to the audience was "Good evening."
Good evening. How are you? Okay.
So it seems that this was an evening performance. This is because the Beatles would say hello or good afternoon at noon concerts.
Hello. We'd like to thank you very much, everybody. Good afternoon. How are you?
However, we cannot say with certainty that this is the case.
We'd like to carry on.
The sound system has a certain level of high output. Since the sound from the vocal microphone was recorded reaching the venue and being reflected,
The next song we'd like to sing is another oldie from last
it seems
year.
highly likely that the sound system had a fairly high output. This could be a factor in excluding performances where the venue's sound system was poor, such as the Seattle performance on August 21st. The performance ends with placing their guitar on stage. Toward the end of the sound source, the guitar's feedback sound is recorded. This means that after the concert, either John or G or both left the stage without their guitars and left the stage. Therefore, if you compare and verify whether the members left the stage with their instruments after the concert or left the instrument behind, you may be able to identify the concert venue. Is it possible to specify the concert venue? The Beatles' 64 American tour held 32 concerts. The Whiskey Flat sound source should be one of these 32 performances. Now, let's see if we can identify the concert venue using the process of elimination. Before that, I would like to touch on the deeply rooted the Philadelphia theory. As mentioned earlier, it has long been believed that the Whiskey Flat sound source may have come from the Philadelphia performance on September 2nd. There are bootlegs and books that assert this, but personally I think this is 100% impossible. 100% impossible. The evidence is based on the fact that one of the members said "Hello, Philly" before the concert started, but did they really say that?
Hello? Hello? Hey. Hello. And now I
One of the members said "Hello, Philly" before the concert started. I can't hear it. At the latter part of the concert, there is a part where a voice similar to that is recorded.
Thank you.
However, this is also unclear and seems difficult to definitively say is "Hello, Philly." However, even beyond this kind of evidence, the Philadelphia theory can be completely denied using more scientific evidence. Fortunately, there is a good video of the Philadelphia performance, and although it does not include audio, this video material is important. If the Whiskey Flat sound source is from the Philadelphia performance, then this video and the Whiskey Flat sound source must be exactly the same in every detail. However, when the audio was combined, there were many discrepancies, such as the details of the members' movements and mistakes in their performance, making it difficult to say that the video and audio were from the same concert. Rather, it proves that it is from a different concert. Therefore, the Whiskey Flat sound source does not seem to be from the Philadelphia performance. I would like to further consider whether it is possible to identify the performance location of the Whiskey Flat sound source by using this method and comparing it with video. 100% deniable performance. Based on various evidences, there are performances that can be concluded to be 100% different. Let's exclude these first. August 19th, San Francisco performance. Excluded because Till the Was You is being played. August 21st, Seattle performance. The sound source recorded by the audience remains, and it has been excluded because it does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. August 22nd, Vancouver performance. The sound source from the radio station remains, and it has been excluded because it does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. August 23rd, Los Angeles performance. It was officially recorded by Capitol and was excluded because it does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. August 26th, Denver performance. After comparison with the video, it was excluded because it did not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 2nd, Philadelphia performance. After comparison with the video, it was excluded because it did not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 3rd, Indianapolis performance matinee. The sound source from the radio station remains, and it has been excluded because it does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 4th, Milwaukee performance. Excluded because I saw her standing there is being played. September 5th, Chicago performance. After comparison with the video, it was excluded because it did not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 6th, Detroit performance matinee. After comparison with the video, it was excluded because it did not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 8th, Montreal performance matinee. Excluded because the sound source by related staff remains and does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 8th, Montreal performance evening. After comparison with the video, it was excluded because it did not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 15th, Cleveland performance. Excluded because the concert has been interrupted, and it does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 16th, New Orleans performance. The sound source from the radio station remains, and it has been excluded because it does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. The above 14 performances can be 100% excluded. 18 performances left. 80% deniable performance. Next, I will think about performances that, although there is no scientific basis for them, can be excluded based on the episodes and circumstances reported. There is an 80% deniable. August 28th, Forest Hills performance. During performance of I Want to Hold Your Hand, a member of the audience was captured on stage and disrupted Georgie Harrison's performance. This does not seem to match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. August 30th, Atlantic City performance. A poor quality audio recording from the audience seats remains, and its content does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat audio source. You may want to exclude it. September 13th, Baltimore performance matinee. After comparing it with the video, it probably does not match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source, so it can be excluded. 17 performances and 15 performances left. 70% deniable performance. Next, let's think about performances that can be excluded based on the episodes and circumstances reported, although the evidence is weaker. There is a 70% chance that it can be ruled out. August 20th, Las Vegas performance. Two performances were held, and there is a document that states that Till There Was You was played at one of them. The authenticity seems to be high as they were performing even the day before. So there is a possibility that one of the Las Vegas performances can be excluded. August 29th Forest Hills performance. During a concert, there is a document that states that a tomato thrown from the audience hit Paul McCartney, staining his clothes. This does not seem to match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 12th Boston performance. From photographs and videos that remain, we know that John Lennon switched his guitar from a Rickenbacker 325 to a spare Rickenbacker 325-12. In other words, it is thought that some kind of trouble occurred with John's main guitar. And this fact does not seem to match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 17th Kansas City performance. It is reported that on this day, Kansas City Hey, 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 Hey was played at the end of the concert. This does not seem to match the content of the Whiskey Flat sound source. September 20th New York performance. It's the last day of the tour, and if you think about it normally, it would seem that there would be a mention during the concert that today's performance is the last of the tour, but there is no such mention in the Whiskey Flat sound source, and there is no such thing. I can't feel the atmosphere. I think it can be excluded. Furthermore, assuming that the daytime portion can be excluded, September 7th Toronto performance, matinee can be excluded. There are now 23 performances with 9 remaining. Unfortunately, however, you can only narrow down your search. When and what concert was the Whiskey Flat sound source recorded at? The following 9 performances remain as possibilities. August 20th Las Vegas performance. August 27th Cincinnati performance. September 3rd Indianapolis performance, evening show. September 6th Detroit performance, evening show. September 7th Toronto performance, evening show. September 11th Jacksonville performance. September 13th Baltimore performance, evening show. September 14th Pittsburgh performance. September 18th Dallas performance. This tour attracted a lot of media attention, and many videos, recordings, and photographs have been preserved. Therefore, by examining the remaining materials in more detail, it may be possible in the future to identify the performance location of the Whiskey Flat sound source. But for now, it still remains a mystery. The sound source itself has been upgraded many times and is still the subject of many bootlegs and releases. I would like to end this documentary with the hope that someday the true identity of this mysterious sound source will be revealed. Have a beat lay day. Thank you for watching.